Hello, learners. Welcome to our session for today. I am Miss Arban, and together, let's learn science. In this video, we will be talking about the menstrual cycle. Before we start, let me share to you the content standard and performance standard of our quarter 3 in Science 10. In content standard, the learners demonstrate an understanding of organisms as having feedback mechanisms which are coordinated by the nervous and endocrine system. For performance standard, the learners shall be able to create a brochure on diseases related to any of the three organ systems and their prevention. For the objectives of our lesson for today, explain the feedback mechanism involved in regulating processes in the female reproductive system, track the different phases in menstrual cycle, and be aware on the importance of hormones in the menstrual cycle in regulating processes of female reproductive system. For the outline of the session, the first part will be a review. It is entitled Two Truths and a Lie. Second part will be the discussion proper, the menstrual cycle and its subcycles, the ovarian cycle and uterine cycle. And then the last part will be the explanation of the learning tasks, which are the written and performance tasks. So let's have the review. Two truths and a lie. In each slide, there will be three statements. Two are correct and the other one is a lie. Can you spot the lie? Now you have 10 seconds to analyze statements that will be shown, and please type in your answer on the comment section. Okay, so the first set, number one statement, fimbriae is a small finger-like projections at the end of fallopian tube through which eggs move from ovaries to uterus. Second, cervix is the lower portion of the uterus which connects it to vagina. And then the third statement, uterus is the site of fertilization and passageway of egg cell. Now you have 10 seconds to identify. Is it 1, 2, 3, alin kaya ang lie? Okay, so time's up. The answer is the third statement. So, what part of the female reproductive system is the site of fertilization and passageway of egg cell? Very good. So, that is the fallopian tube. Next. Okay, first statement, vagina is the site for egg implantation and where fertilized egg develops. Second, ovary produces egg cell. And in the third statement, fallopian tube is also called as oviduct. So you have 10 seconds to analyze which statement is a lie. Okay, time's up. So the correct answer is, or the lie in this statement is, very good. So that is the first statement. So is it the vagina which is the site for egg implantation? Okay, it is the uterus. So very good. Thank you for participating in our activity. Now let's proceed to our discussion proper about the menstrual cycle. So the menstrual cycle has sub-cycles, the ovarian cycle and uterine cycle. In ovarian cycle, it happens in the ovaries, and then it has phases, follicular phase, ovulation, and then the luteal phase. On the other hand, the uterine cycle happens in the uterus, and it has phases, menses, proliferative phase, and the secretory phase. Okay, so we have here the picture of the menstrual cycle. In the upper part, we have the ovarian cycle, and in the lower part, we have the uterine cycle. Most women have their menstrual cycle between 23 to 35 days. Okay, and then the first part of the menstrual cycle, we have the menses or the menstruation period, which lasts from 3 to 7 days. Okay, and during our menses or menstruation period, we have or we are experiencing some mood swings or inconvenience. It is because of the hormones inside our body. Okay, so in the beginning of our menstrual cycle, the pituitary gland will produce FSH or follicle stimulating hormone. So this is the main hormone involved in stimulating your ovaries to produce mature eggs, which is the start of the follicular phase. Okay, dito sa ovarian cycle. Now, ano ba ang follicles? So, follicles are the fluid-filled cavities in your ovaries. So, sa ating ovary, maraming follicles at sa loob nun, we have undeveloped egg cell. Okay, now, as time pass by, since si pituitary gland ay magpo-produce ng FSH, magmamature yung ating follicles na nandun sa loob yung ating egg cell. But there will be one dominant follicle that will be enlarged. Ayan. Mas lalaki siya ng mas lalaki compared dun sa iba. Kumbaga, as the follicles, maraming follicles sa ovary natin, pero yung isang follicle lang doon ang magiging dominant at lalaki at magpo-produce ng egg cell. Now, as this happen, the estrogen level starts to get higher. Okay, pataas siya ng pataas. Bakit kailangang tumaas ang estrogen level? It is because the presence of estrogen will help the thickening of the uterus. Okay, bakit kailangan yung uterus natin or yung lining ng uterus natin ay mag-thicken or kumapal? It is to prepare the uterus for possible pregnancy. Okay, now in this part or in this stage, we will notice some release of sperm-friendly mucus or called as fertile cervical mucus. So, tinatawag natin tong white mints. Okay? Now, this thin, slippery discharge may be cloudy white. Yan. And it is a symptom that we are about to ovulate. Now, this mucus is called sperm-friendly mucus so that the sperm can swim more easily. Okay, and it can survive for few days. Now, after that part, in general, ika-14th day. Okay, on the 14th day of our menstrual cycle, the luteinizing hormone will help the egg cell to be released outside the ovary. Okay, so the luteinizing hormone or LH is also produced by the pituitary gland. So as the estrogen level gets higher, tumataas din dito yung level ng luteinizing hormone. So if there is enough hormone, luteinizing hormone, if there is enough luteinizing hormone, we can have the ovulation process. Okay, so remember, yung amount ng hormone, ng luteinizing hormone natin, dapat sapat siya para mailabas yung egg cell doon sa follicle na nag-mature, yung dominant follicle. Okay? So that is the ovulation process, which is the release of the mature egg cell from the ovary. Remember, yung 14th day, it is an average. Depende sa cycle natin kung kailan tayo mag-ovulate. And remember yung ating basis, we have the white means. Okay? Meaning, pag nangyari na yun, we are about to ovulate and that are the days to come na tayo ay fertile. Okay? Kasi yung egg cell natin ay wala na sa ovary, papunta na siya sa fallopian tube, and it will wait for a sperm cell to come. After you have ovulated, the ruptured follicle is transformed into corpus luteum and starts to produce another hormone called progesterone. Okay, and this is the start of the luteal phase of the ovarian cycle. Now, what is the function of the progesterone? The progesterone causes further build-up in the lining of your womb. Okay, so kanina si estrogen yung nagpaumpisa ng thickening of the uterus. Now, after ovulation, si progesterone naman ang magpapatibay pa sa ating lining of uterus. Again, it is for the preparation of possible pregnancy. Okay? And then, the ruptured follicle will start to shrink. Ayan, so corpus luteum ang tawag, and then magiging corpus albicans, and then hanggang sa mawala siya, yung ruptured follicle na yun, and then mag-start na ulit yung menses nun. And then start again of the menstrual cycle. Simultaneously, when there is no fertilized egg produced, the level of estrogen and progesterone starts to decrease. That is why the lining of the uterus starts to break down. Okay, and if it starts to break down, doon na magpe-prepare ang ating reproductive system to have our next menstruation period or the shedding of blood. So, yung blood na isi-shed natin tuwing menstruation period, yun ay yung blood na nabuo dito sa lining ng ating uterus. So, hindi siya yung pinaniniwalaan ng marami na maduming dugo. So, yung dugo na yun ay from the uterus. Yung dapat na mag-nurture doon sa ating fertilized egg. Kaso nga, walang fertilized egg na na-produce. Okay? Now, we have here, ayan, another picture. So, kung mapapansin nyo, we have here the uterine cycle para makita nyo lang din yung pagkapal ng lining. Okay, so the menses or the menstruation period, and then the proliferative phase wherein there is the start of the thickening of the lining of the uterus or the endometrium through the help of the estrogen hormone. Ayan. And then the secretory phase, by the way, this is the phase in the uterine cycle wherein mas kumakapal siya through the hormone progesterone, and then also ito yung part kung saan ipe-prepare yung uterus for the menses ulit. Doon sa breaking down of the uterine lining naman. Okay, again, if there is fertilized egg produced, walang mangyayari na breaking down, meaning mas tataas ang level ng progesterone and estrogen para doon sa lining ng ating uterus kasi doon mag-i-implant yung ating fertilized egg. Okay? Kasi kapag hindi na i-prepare ang ating lining sa uterus, doon na papasok yung um, possible na miscarriage. Okay? Doon sa hindi matitibay ang kapit, kumbaga, na sinasabi nila, hindi daw kumapit maigi ang bata. So it is because of the hormones. So we have here the key points of the menstrual cycle. The first one, follicle stimulating hormone or FSH is produced by the pituitary gland in our brain, which stimulates the ovaries to produce mature eggs and starts producing another hormone called estrogen. So the presence of FSH in the ovary give way to the production of estrogen. Okay, and then high estrogen levels are associated with the appearance of thin fertile cervical mucus that serves as a sign of ovulation and thickening of the endometrium. Okay, so it is the proliferative phase in the uterine cycle. And then rapid rise in amount of luteinizing hormone causes the dominant follicle to rupture and release the mature egg from the ovary. So kung mapapansin nyo dito, we have here the FSH and LH. The presence of FSH, once, di ba, FSH is used in the maturation of the follicle. Now, kapag dominant na, may dominant follicle na tayo, bumababa na ang level of FSH at tumataas naman ang LH or luteinizing hormone. And remember that luteinizing hormone is responsible for the release of the egg cell in the follicle para lumabas siya ng ovary. So that is the ovulation process. And then the ruptured follicle is transformed into corpus luteum and starts producing another hormone called progesterone. Once na lumabas na si egg cell sa ating ovary, the ruptured follicle, which is called corpus luteum, will produce another hormone called progesterone. Ayan, progesterone, which is responsible for the thickening also of the uterus. So, mas pinapatibay ni progesterone. Kasi nga, the presence of progesterone will also inhibit the production of estrogen. So, ito. Kapag mataas ang progesterone, mas mababa siya sa, yung mas mababa yung estrogen level. Okay, hindi sila laging pantay. Pero both of them, estrogen and progesterone, helps to build up our endometrium or lining of the uterus for possible pregnancy. Okay? And then, levels of estrogen and progesterone decrease. That results in the breaking down of the endometrium and your body sheds the lining. Now, kailan mangyayari yung decrease? If there is no fertilized egg produced. Okay, if there is fertilized egg produced or may pregnancy, yung progesterone and estrogen ay hindi bababa. Kasi kailangan nilang mapanatili na okay ang lining ng uterus para mag-implant doon yung fertilized egg. Okay? But, if there is no fertilized egg produced, levels of progesterone and estrogen will become lower and there will be the breakdown of this lining of the uterus and it will prepare our body to the menstruation period. And so we have here the feedback mechanism. We had already discussed this on our last topic. So feedback mechanism, remember, it is the process through which the level of one substance influences the level of another substance. So we have positive and negative feedback. When we say positive feedback, it allows the production of a particular hormone or a particular substance. A negative feedback naman, it inhibits the production of another hormone. Okay? So, dito, sa pituitary gland, it releases FSH and LH. So, that is positive feedback kasi nag-release. Now, FSH, once na na-reach na niya ang ovary, magpo-produce naman ng ovary ng estrogen. Okay, now the level or the presence of estrogen will have a negative feedback kay pituitary gland na wag na munang mag-produce ng FSH kasi dumadami na siya. Okay? In a certain level of estrogen na na-produce ng ovary, magbibigay siya ng signal kay pituitary gland na sasabihin niya, okay na ang amount ko, wag ka na muna mag-produce ng FSH. So that is negative feedback. Also, si LH naman or luteinizing hormone, once na nandito na siya kay ovary, magpo-produce naman siya ng progesterone as we had discussed earlier. Okay, then ganun din. Si progesterone magbibigay ng negative feedback kay pituitary gland na wag na munang mag-produce ng LH kasi meron ng enough amount of progesterone sa ovary. Okay, and also, the presence of progesterone will also inhibit the production of FSH na nagpo-produce naman ng estrogen. Now, let's proceed to the learning tasks which are the written works and performance tasks. So learning task number one is entitled Mark My Calendar. All you have to do is to analyze these pictures. Okay, and then as you can see, may number siya kada picture. Okay? Yung number na yun, ilalagay nyo kung saan siya dito particular. For example, follicular stage, anong number or numbers ang under niya. Okay? Same sa ovulation hanggang sa pregnancy. Next one, learning task number two is a multiple choice item test. Okay, so it is 15 items. Ayan. Read the questions carefully and then write the letter of your answer. Okay. Then learning task number three is you will have an essay. Explain why there is a high level of estrogen and progesterone once in every 28-day uterine cycle of a female. And then we have here the rubrics, quality of writing, and grammar. So this will be the basis for your grade in your essay writing. So before we end, let me share to you this Bible verse. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. So this is from Genesis 1, verse 28. So sinabi niya to kina Adan at Eva. Ayan. So it is the essence of a woman to give birth. Ayan. So thank you for listening. And if you have questions, please send me an email with this. Ayan. So thank you and see you on our next lesson.